Hey, welcome. Today we're going to dive into a really powerful idea, how to tune out all that endless noise and advice and instead build something way more reliable, your own inner compass to guide you. But first, let's start with a feeling I'm pretty sure we've all had. You ever feel this? You read a book, you listen to a podcast, you get this amazing tip, and like a week later, you're right back where you started. Why does so much of the advice we get feel so temporary, so I don't know, useless? Well, it's because of this crazy paradox we're all living in. We are absolutely drowning in information more than any other time in history, but we're starving for real wisdom. It's like being lost at sea, surrounded by water, but having nothing to actually drink. So here's what we're going to do. We'll unpack this thing called the advice overload trap. Then we'll look at the brain science behind why we get stuck. And then we'll get to the good stuff, the solution. We'll discover the power of real explanations and how to build that inner compass to help you navigate, well, whatever's coming next. Okay, so let's jump right into the problem itself, the advice overload trap. This is really about why our current approach to improving ourselves, let's call it self-help 2.0, just feels like it's broken. I mean, you know the feeling, right? You're endlessly scrolling, you see one guru saying one thing, another saying the complete opposite. You're getting these little highlight reels from books, these quotes that sound amazing, but they're just fragments. They're floating around in your head with no connection. And it just leaves you feeling restless, almost bloated with information you can't digest. And when you break it down, the difference is just huge. Seeking advice is kind of like memorizing a recipe. Sure, it might help you make a decent meal tonight, but it doesn't actually teach you how to cook. It just makes you dependent on the next recipe. But building understanding, that's about learning the principles of cooking. It gives you insight that lasts, and, this is the big one, it gives you autonomy. So if it's a trap, why do we keep walking right into it? Well, it turns out our own brains are kind of wired for it. Let's dig into the psychology that makes us so hungry for those easy answers. Okay, to get this, let me tell you a quick story that really makes it click. Picture a small village with a big clock tower in the center. For generations, that clock has structured everyone's lives. It chimes, you know it's time to work. It chimes again, time to eat. It was the source of all order. Then, one day, the gears inside just break, the clock stops, and chaos starts to set in. So a panicked villager climbs the tower and just starts forcing the hands to move, making it ring again. Now, it was the totally wrong time, but here's the key. It was a predictable time. And just like that, the town felt safe again. Their whole lives were now completely out of sync with reality, but hey, they had their order back. And this is the mind-blowing part. They chose a story that made sense, a coherent story, over one that was actually true. They preferred the lie because it felt certain. So, that little story? It's a perfect picture of the work by Nobel Prize winner Daniel Kahneman. He says our brains have two modes. System 2 is our slow, logical brain, but man, it takes a lot of effort. So most of the time we default to System 1. It's fast, it's emotional, and it absolutely hates uncertainty. System 1 is the part of your brain that clicks on that 5 easy steps to success article. Not because it's true, but because it's a simple, tidy story that calms that feeling of not knowing. And Kahneman just nails it with this quote. Our confidence doesn't come from the quality of the evidence. It comes from how good the story is. A coherent story, even a totally false one, just feels better to our brains than a bunch of scattered, uncertain facts. Okay, so if following simple advice is like listening to a broken clock, what's the alternative? This brings us to the real solution, an idea from the physicist David Deutsch, the power of explanations. This is where we get that click of true understanding. So what on earth is explanatory knowledge? It's not just knowing the what, it's understanding the why. It's not about memorizing rules, it's about getting the inner workings of things. It's the difference between knowing a plant needs water to live and actually understanding the deep magic of photosynthesis. See, this is the thing. Real knowledge isn't something you just download. You have to build it. It all starts with curiosity, right? You ask a question, then your brain gets creative and forms a possible explanation, a guess. Then you have to test that guess against reality. And when it works, when it holds up, that's when you get that amazing click as the new idea just locks into place. Einstein put it so perfectly. Any fool can know something, can memorize a fact, but the whole point, the thing that really matters, is to understand. That's the huge shift we're talking about here. All right, this is all great in theory, But how do we actually do this? How do we make it practical? Well, it's all about moving from that passive self-help mindset to one of active self-development. And we do that by building our inner compass. And that inner compass, let's call it your framework of understanding, or FOU for short. Seriously, think of it like your own personal operating system for your brain. It's not something someone gives you. It's something you build yourself, piece by piece, from the best, most solid explanations you can find. It becomes the tool you use to make sense of the world with clarity and real agency. This chart just lays it all out, right? The old way, self-help 2.0, was all about getting prescriptions, memorizing life hacks. And where does that lead? To depending on the next guru. But the new way, self-development 3.0, is about building that inner compass, your FOU. And the result? Real autonomy and the ability to think for yourself. Okay, so why does this matter so much, like right now? Because in the world we're all trying to figure out, having this inner compass is going from a nice to have to an absolutely have to have. The writer Nassim Taleb has this brilliant analogy. Think about a turkey. For 100 days, a farmer feeds it every single day. And with each meal, the turkey's confidence grows. This farmer guy is my best friend. Life is great and predictable. It completely mistakes past patterns for a guarantee of future safety. But then, day 101 arrives, and it's Thanksgiving. That is a black swan event, something that comes out of nowhere and shatters your reality. Relying only on past advice is basically choosing to be the turkey. And this is a really big deal, especially now with AI. AI can spit out answers and advice on a scale we've never seen before. But what it can't do is create genuinely new knowledge. It can't truly understand. That's still our job. It's a uniquely human skill. And the takeaway here is massive. The future is going to belong to the people who can go beyond just consuming answers and start creating their own understanding. Investor Peter Thiel has another great way of putting this. He says true innovation, the real breakthroughs, they don't come from following a recipe. He says the next Bill Gates will not build an operating system. Why? Because if you're just copying what someone else did, you're not actually learning from them. You're just tracing their map. So it really all comes down to this one question. The world is full of people selling you maps, these perfect, pre-drawn step-by-step plans. But in a world that's changing faster than ever, any map can be outdated tomorrow. A compass, though, a compass will always help you find your own way. So the question is, are you ready to stop asking for maps and start building your compass?